Hey, what's up guys? Today I'll show you a science fiction thriller film, The Door. Spoiler ahead, watch out and take care. David is a successful painter. He lives in a small town with his attractive wife and a cute daughter. However, he is sick of a peaceful but boring life. To calm down his boiling hormones, David maintains a secret romance with a single but horny neighbor. One day, David leaves his daughter alone, hunting butterflies. He then goes to find the neighbor for a hormone cure. But when he comes back, he finds his daughter has drowned in the swimming pool, for her shoelaces were stuck to a filter at the bottom. David blames himself a lot, but it's too late. Because of that, his wife divorces him and moves away, causing him to fall into great sorrow and depression. 5 years later, David is unable to let go of the past. He can't forget his daughter, and is still in love with his ex-wife, who has moved in with another man, but still blames David for the daughter's death. He visited many times to get her forgiveness, but to no avail. One night David comes over again, but is kicked out once again. Having decided to end his life, David leaves his ex-wife a message, then jumps into the swimming pool that claimed his daughter's life. Luckily, he has been saved by his best friend, who has received a phone call from his ex-wife after she saw his message. After his being saved, however, David still wants to end his miserable life. He sneaks out from his friend's house. It's a cold winter night. David walks on the icy streets in despair. He loses his footings and happens to see a frozen butterfly on the road. David carefully holds the butterfly in his hands. Surprisingly, the butterfly comes alive and flies into the sky. It seems the butterfly has been waiting for him. David follows the butterfly to a door deep in the woods. There is a strange dark tunnel behind the door. David walks to the other side of that door, and finds himself brought to the summertime all of a sudden. What's more, walking through the familiar community, he even sees another self, who is sneaking to his hormone partner's house. Though a bit confused, David soon realizes he has traveled to another space, in which, he realizes that he's set right on the day when his daughter died. So he rushes to the swimming pool, and finally saves his daughter's life. David takes his daughter home, and looks at her angelic face. He is so happy to bring his little girl back. Just as he's about to leave, the telephone rings. When he returns to answer the phone, the past David comes back, but is mistaken as a thief. After a fierce fight, David kills the past self by accident. He is in a panic, because he didn't expect to kill anybody. His daughter hears the noise, and wants to come inside for a check. David scrambles to hide the dead body from her, and shoos her away. A scary idea suddenly comes up to him. He wants to take the opportunity to restart his life. David cleans up the bloody floor, and then buries the body in the yard, before taking a shower to clean up himself. Minutes later, his past wife comes back. She notices a slight difference, but can't tell it. David behaves carefully to avoid giving himself away. However, when his daughter shouts to resist him, his efforts fail because she actually saw the murder, and assumed that this man was not her true father. David rushes to find some explanation for that. Not too bad, his past wife doesn't take it seriously. One day, David can't find his mobile phone. His wife tries to help, but he sends her away immediately, because he soon realizes the phone might have been left in his past self. He then digs the body out in the yard, but finds nothing. The next day, his wife calls the phone, but finds a woman answering it. He then notices that the phone was left in his hormone neighbor's. Explaining that the phone may have been picked up by some stranger, he then takes the excuse to go out, but actually visits the neighbor to collect his phone. There, he tries to end the hormone relationship with the neighbor girl. Unfortunately, when he is about to leave that house, he has been seen by his best friend, who believes that David must have been cheating on his wife. So he invites David out for a drink, and tries to persuade him to stop. David explains to his friend that he comes from the future world, and wants to make up the mistake he made 5 years ago. Driven by the alcohol, he goes further to tell the friend he killed the past self and buried the body in the yard. However, his friend only treats his smelly bullshit as a joke. Trying to convince his friend, David tells him he will be a famous painter and have 2 children in 5 years. David even tells the names of his future kids. His friend feels shocked by that, but still can't believe what he says. David returns to his family, and tries to be a good father and husband, but his daughter still rejects him. David patiently explains that her previous father has gone, as he didn't take good care of her. So here comes the new father to take over the responsibilities. Touched by that, his daughter gradually accepts her new father. His relationship with his past wife also becomes better. It seems David's life has been back on track. It's David's birthday on a weekend. His past wife invites some close friends to celebrate. During the party, David's friend is watching David's daughter drawing. He's shocked because she paints a man killing another self. Realizing that David was not bullshitting in the bar, he then rushes out to the yard. David notices something strange and breaks out in a cold sweat, but only to find the buried body has been discovered by his friend, who is frightened to discover what David had done. David hurries up to explain, but he won't even listen, because he has considered David a horrible murderer. They have a fierce quarrel and fight. Right at that time it's raining cats and dogs. Nobody in the room notices what's happening outside. At that moment, much to David's shock, the greasy, half-bald neighbor shows up and kills the friend with a hoe suddenly. David is scared out of his shit. Uncle Greasy tells him to brace up if he wants to keep his own secret. David has no other way but to bury his friend's body in the woods. David is eager to figure out why Uncle Greasy kills his friend. Much to his surprise, Uncle Greasy also comes from the future world, where he gets bankruptcy and is sentenced to jail. To avoid being sent to prison, he's going to commit a suicide. On the way to his relatives, however, he happened to discover the time tunnel and traveled back here. He killed his past self in order to stay in the past world, and by use of his future memory, he won a large amount of money by lottery. Uncle Greasy tells David that many people in the town are time travelers who suffer in the future and choose to restart their life here by killing the past selves. To keep the secret, all those who know the truth must die. That's the reason why Uncle Greasy must kill David's friend. David is astonished to hear that. This world is definitely getting mad and taken over by nuts. One night, David quietly takes his family to the door, hoping to send them to the future world. He leads his past wife and daughter to pass through the tunnel. However, he loses them halfway. David returns to seek for them, but only to see Uncle Greasy standing in front of the door. Uncle Greasy threatens him to keep the secret, or he would kill him and his family. Without any other choice, David agrees and goes back home as if nothing happened. When he wakes up the next morning, his past wife wonders why he took them to that cave. David says he was drunk and muddles through her question. Meanwhile, the hormone neighbor takes her daughter to visit David's. She invites David's daughter over to play. Just seconds after they leave, David's past wife sees the neighbor and her husband showing up on the other side of the street, but in a totally different dress. Confused, she follows the neighbor to her house, then is horrified to witness the latter appearing couple kill themselves in the kitchen. She rushes home with the two little girls and calls the police to tell what she saw. The police come in minutes, but they don't even believe her story. At that time, David comes back. He soon learns about everything, but dare not tell the truth. He calms his wife down, then sends the neighbor girl back to her parents. One day, David receives a phone call from an unexpected guest, his ex-wife. He also travels here from the future world. They meet at Uncle Greasy's house later. The ex-wife tells David she wants to kill the past self and start a new life with David and their daughter. David notices that things are getting out of control, so he pretends to agree with her and proposes to kill the past wife by himself. On his way back, David notices some neighbors are staring at his house with an evil look. Sensing the danger, he knows he can't wait any longer. After arriving home, he tells all the truth to his past wife and pleads with her to take their daughter to the future world. Pretty shocked though, his past wife still chooses to follow his plan. David drives out alone to distract others away, trying to fight for time for his past wife and their daughter to escape. On the way to the tunnel, David's two wives come across each other. A very urgent moment, the future wife is soft-hearted and sets them free. Uncle Greasy discovers the running mother and daughter and turns his gun to them. To protect them, David immediately drives to hit Uncle Greasy. After his past wife and daughter pass through the tunnel, David drives to bump against the door, causing it to collapse and cutting off the connection between the two spaces. In the end, David stays with his future wife in the world without their daughter. Everything seems to be back to the origin, but they both feel relieved after all of this. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Peace out.